A grandmother accused of kidnapping her own grandchildren, but wait until you hear who's really the villain. I never thought I'd stand in a courtroom at 67 listening to my own daughter call me a criminal. But there I was, clutching an envelope that held 13 years of silence, betrayal, and buried truth. Clara wanted her children back, not out of love, but because of what they were worth, and I had the proof. Stay with me until the end of the story. Hit that like button and comment what city you're watching from so I can see how far this truth travels. The fluorescent lights in courtroom 4B hummed like angry wasps. I'd been sitting on that hard wooden bench for 20 minutes, my hands gripping a manila envelope so tightly the edges had gone soft and damp. The air conditioning blasted cold air that smelled like floor polish and recycled anxiety. Around me, people shuffled papers, whispered to lawyers, avoided eye contact. Normal Tuesday morning in family court, I guess, except nothing about this was normal. Across the aisle, Clara sat with perfect posture, her hair styled in loose waves that probably cost more than my monthly grocery bill, navy blazer, cream blouse, pearl earrings that caught the light every time she turned her head to whisper something to her attorney. A sharp-looking woman in her 40s with a leather portfolio and an expression like she'd already won. My daughter, my own flesh and blood, and she was suing me for kidnapping. The bailiff called the case. Reed versus Ellison. Matter of custody and allegations of unlawful retention of minors. My lawyer, Tom Brennan, 62, perpetually rumpled, but sharp as they come, touched my elbow. You ready, Martha? I nodded, though my throat had gone dry as chalk dust. Judge Catherine Moreno entered, and we all stood. She was younger than I expected, maybe 50, with dark hair pulled back severe and reading glasses on a chain around her neck. She settled into her chair, scanned the documents in front of her, and looked up. This is a preliminary hearing regarding emergency custody, she said. Her voice carried authority without being loud. Ms. Reed, you're petitioning for immediate return of your 3 children, currently in the care of the respondent, Martha Ellison. You're also alleging unlawful retention amounting to parental kidnapping. Is that correct? Clara's lawyer stood smoothly. That's correct, Your Honor. My client has been systematically denied access to her children for 13 years. Mrs. Ellison has refused all contact, all communication, and has poisoned the children against their own mother. I felt Tom tense beside me, but he didn't interrupt. Let them talk first, he told me. Let them show their cards. Mrs. Ellison, the judge said, turning to me, you're the maternal grandmother and current guardian. How do you respond to these allegations? Tom stood. Your Honor, my client categorically denies any wrongdoing. The children were not taken, they were abandoned. Mrs. Ellison stepped in when Ms. Reed disappeared without a trace, leaving 3 children aged 7, 5, and 3 in deplorable conditions. She's been their sole caregiver for 13 years, and this sudden interest in custody has nothing to do with maternal concern. Nothing to do with Clara's lawyer sputtered. Your Honor, that's an outrageous accusation. I have documentation, Tom said calmly, extensive documentation that will demonstrate exactly why Ms. Reed is here today, and it's not because she suddenly remembered she has children. Judge Moreno held up a hand. We'll get to evidence. Ms. Reed, I'd like to hear from you directly. Tell me what happened 13 years ago. Clara stood. She'd practiced this, I could tell. The way she smoothed her skirt, the pause before speaking, the slight tremor in her voice that seemed carefully calibrated. Your Honor, 13 years ago, I was in a very dark place. She pressed her fingers to her mouth, a gesture of contained emotion. I was struggling with severe postpartum depression following my youngest child's birth. My marriage had fallen apart. I was drowning financially, emotionally, physically. I reached out to my mother for help, just temporary help, while I got treatment and got back on my feet. The lie was so smooth, I almost admired it. I checked myself into a facility for mental health treatment, Clara continued. When I came out 6 weeks later, ready to resume my role as a mother, my own mother refused to tell me where my children were. She changed her phone number. She moved without leaving a forwarding address. For 13 years I've been searching for my babies. She wiped at her eyes. Real tears or good acting? Hard to tell anymore. That's complete fiction, I said, the words bursting out before I could stop them. Mrs. Ellison, the judge said sharply, you'll have your turn to speak. But she's lying. Mrs. Ellison! Judge Moreno's tone left no room for argument. Sit down. Tom pulled me back into my seat. His hand on my shoulder was firm. Wait, his grip said. Let her bury herself. Clara's lawyer jumped in. Your Honor, we have medical records from Clearwater Mental Health Facility showing Miss Reed was indeed a patient there from August 3rd to September 18th, 13 years ago. We have documentation of her subsequent attempts to locate her children through private investigators, missing persons reports, and repeated letters to Mrs. Ellison that went unanswered. I never got any letters, I said. Because you moved and left no forwarding address, Clara's lawyer shot back, which is textbook parental alienation and unlawful retention. My hands were shaking. The envelope in my lap felt like it was burning through my dress. Judge Moreno looked at me. Mrs. Ellison, what's your version of events? I stood slowly. My knees creaked. Arthritis that had gotten worse since I'd stopped being able to afford regular medication. Priorities shift when you're raising 3 kids on a retail salary and Social Security. Your Honor, may I approach the bench? I have something to show you. The judge nodded. Both counsel approach. I walked up there on legs that felt disconnected from my body. Clara's lawyer looked annoyed, like I was wasting everyone's time. Tom looked cautiously optimistic. I handed the envelope to the judge. What is this? Judge Moreno asked. The truth, I said. Everything that happened. Pictures, letters, documents. Proof that Clara didn't go to any mental health facility to get better. She went to disappear. And she didn't come back until 3 weeks ago when she found out about the inheritance. Clara's lawyer stiffened. What inheritance? The children's grandfather, my late husband Richard, left a trust fund for his grandchildren, Tom explained. $1 million divided equally to be dispersed when each child turns 21. The eldest, Sarah, turns 21 in 4 months. The courtroom went very quiet. Judge Moreno opened the envelope. I watched her face as she looked through the contents. Her expression didn't change much, but her jaw tightened. She looked at Clara, then back at the papers, then at me. I think we need to hear the full story, she said. Mrs. Ellison, start from the beginning, and I mean the very beginning. I took a breath that hurt going down. 13 years ago, on July 22nd, I got a phone call at 3 a.m. from my granddaughter Sarah. She was 7 years old. She was crying so hard I could barely understand her. She said, Grandma, Mommy's gone and Tyler won't stop crying, and Emma threw up and I don't know what to do. The memory hit me like it always did, a punch to the chest that never got easier. I lived 2 hours away. I broke every speed limit getting there. When I arrived at Clara's apartment, I had to pause. Even now, even after 13 years, the image made me sick. The apartment was filthy. There was rotting food everywhere. The electricity had been shut off, I don't know for how long. The kids were in the same clothes they'd probably been wearing for days. Tyler, who was 5, had a diaper rash so bad it was bleeding. Emma, who was 3, had a fever of 103. And Sarah had been trying to take care of them by herself, 7 years old. Clara made a sound, half gasp, half sob. That's not... Let her finish, Judge Moreno said. I called Clara's cell phone 47 times that day. No answer. I called everyone I could think of, her friends, her ex-husband, anyone who might know where she was. Nothing. So I did what any grandmother would do. I took the kids to my house. I fed them. I got Emma to a doctor. I bought them clean clothes. And I waited for Clara to come back. And did she? The judge asked. Not that week, not that month, not for 8 months, Your Honor. Clara stood up. Because I was in treatment, because I was trying to get help. You were in Clearwater for 6 weeks, I said, turning to look at her directly. 6 weeks, Clara. What about the other 7 months? Where were you then? She opened her mouth, closed it. Her lawyer put a hand on her arm. I was recovering. The treatment didn't end when I left the facility. I needed time. You needed time? My voice rose despite myself. Your babies needed their mother. Sarah needed to be a child instead of a parent. Tyler needed someone to change his diaper and tell him he was safe. Emma needed medicine and someone to hold her when she cried at night. They needed you, and you were nowhere. I was sick, Clara shouted. I had postpartum depression. I wasn't capable of... Then why didn't you call me? The question came out raw. If you were so sick you couldn't care for them, why didn't you ask for help? Why did you just leave them there alone with no food and no power and no way to contact anyone? I did ask for help. I called you before I went to Clearwater. No, you didn't. I did. I told you I was struggling. I told you I needed... You asked me for money, I said flatly. You called and said you needed $5,000 for expenses. You didn't mention the kids were living in squalor. You didn't say you were about to disappear. You asked for money I didn't have, and when I said I couldn't give it to you, you hung up on me. That was our last conversation before you vanished. Judge Moreno held up a hand. Mrs. Ellison, you mentioned you have documentation. What exactly do you have in that envelope? I pointed to the papers spread in front of her. Photos I took the day I picked up the kids. Medical records from Emma's emergency room visit. The notices from the utility company showing the power had been off for 11 days. Sarah's statement. I had her write down what happened in her own words, so I wouldn't forget any details if I needed to report it. Letters that Clara sent me starting 8 months after she left. What do the letters say? The judge asked. I didn't need to look at them. I'd memorized every word. The first one said she was doing better and wanted to see the kids. She included a return address, an apartment in Miami Beach. I wrote back. I said the kids were safe with me. They were enrolled in school. They were seeing a therapist to deal with the abandonment trauma. And if she wanted to be part of their lives, she needed to demonstrate stability. I asked her to send proof she had housing, employment, and a plan for how she'd care for 3 children. And Judge Moreno prompted. She wrote back 3 weeks later asking for money again, said she needed help with rent, that if I really cared about her relationship with the kids, I'd help her get on her feet financially. Clara's lawyer shuffled papers. Your Honor, my client was in a vulnerable position. She needed support, not judgment. I sent her $200, I said. It was money I'd been saving to fix the water heater, but I sent it. I told her it was a one-time thing, and that I expected her to start taking steps towards stability. Did she? The judge asked. She sent a thank you card with a P.O. box address in Fort Lauderdale. Different city, no actual address. 2 months later, another letter asking for money, then another, then another. Over the course of a year, she sent me 14 letters, 13 of them asked for money. One of them, I paused, feeling the old anger rise up fresh. One of them said she'd met someone new and was starting a new life. She thanked me for taking care of the kids and said she knew they were better off with me. She said she was signing over her parental rights and I should consider myself their legal guardian. The courtroom was silent. Do you have that letter? Judge Moreno asked quietly. It's in the envelope, 3rd page from the bottom. The judge found it, read it. Her expression didn't change, but I saw her grip tighten on the paper. This is dated 12 years ago, she said. Yes, Your Honor. I had a lawyer draw up formal guardianship papers. I sent them to the address Clara had given me. They came back returned to sender. I tried 3 more addresses from letters she'd sent. Same thing every time. So I filed for guardianship through the courts, listing her as an absent parent. The court appointed an investigator to locate her. They couldn't find her. After a year of documented attempts to notify her, the court granted me full legal guardianship. Clara's lawyer was flipping through papers frantically. Your Honor, we were never notified of any guardianship proceedings because your client was using fake addresses and couldn't be found, Tom interjected. The court followed all proper procedures. Multiple attempts at notification, investigators' report, published notice in newspapers as required by law. Miss Reed was nowhere to be found because she didn't want to be found. That's not true. Clara stood up, and this time her lawyer didn't stop her. I was struggling. I was trying to rebuild my life. I thought my children were safe with my mother. I thought I was doing the right thing by not disrupting their stability until I could provide for them properly. For 13 years, I asked, you thought the right thing was to not even call them for 13 years. I wrote letters asking for money. Not one of those letters asked how the kids were doing. Not one asked to see a picture or talk on the phone. You wrote to me like I was an ATM, not like I was raising your children. I was ashamed, Clara's voice cracked. I was so ashamed of what I'd done, of how I'd failed them. I couldn't face them. I thought if I could just get myself together first, if I could become someone they could be proud of, then I could come back. And 13 years later, you're suddenly ready, I asked. What changed, Clara? She looked at her lawyer, back at me. I've been in therapy. I've worked through my issues. I have a stable job now, a nice apartment. I'm ready to be their mother. What job? I asked. I work in marketing. Where? That's not relevant. Where do you work, Clara? What company? Her lawyer stood. Your Honor, Mrs. Ellison is badgering my client. I'll allow it, Judge Moreno said. Ms. Reed, please answer the question. Clara's jaw worked. I'm between positions right now. I left my last job 6 weeks ago. 6 weeks ago, I repeated, right around the time you contacted me again. First communication in over a decade, and it's suddenly 6 weeks ago. Why then, Clara? Why not a year ago? 5 years ago? Why now? Because I was finally ready. Because you found out about the trust fund, I said, because Richard died 8 weeks ago, and you somehow found out he'd left money to the kids. That's why you're here. Not because you suddenly remembered you have children, because you remembered they're worth money. The courtroom erupted. Clara's lawyer was shouting objections. Clara was crying, or trying to. Tom was trying to speak over everyone. The bailiff called for order. Judge Moreno slammed her gavel down 3 times. Quiet. Everyone quiet right now. Silence fell, broken only by Clara's theatrical sobbing. Mrs. Ellison, the judge said, that's a serious accusation. Do you have any proof that Reed's interest in custody is financially motivated? I looked at Tom. He nodded. Your Honor, Clara's first contact with me in 13 years was an email sent July 28th, 6 days after Richard's funeral. The subject line was, we need to talk about the kids' inheritance. Not, I miss my children. Not, I want to see how they're doing. The inheritance. That was her opening line. Tom pulled out printed copies of email exchanges. We have the entire email thread, Your Honor. Ms. Reed's first 3 emails focus exclusively on the trust fund. How much is it? When do the kids get access? Who controls it until they're of age? Only after Mrs. Ellison refused to discuss financial matters did Ms. Reed start claiming she wanted a relationship with the children. Clara's lawyer grabbed for the emails. This is taken out of context. It's verbatim, Tom said. Timestamps, metadata, everything. Your client's own words. Judge Moreno read through the emails. With each page, her expression grew colder. Ms. Reed, she said finally, your first email to your mother asks, quote, how much did Dad leave the kids, and do I have any legal right to control those funds as their biological mother? Is that correct? Clara wiped her eyes. I was just trying to make sure the children's interests were protected. From their grandmother who's raised them for 13 years. From someone who might take advantage of them. Take advantage? I couldn't help the bitter laugh. Clara, I've worked retail for the last 13 years to support your kids. I cancelled my retirement plans. I sold my car and bought a cheaper one so I could afford Sarah's braces. I've been buying my clothes at Goodwill for over a decade. The only thing I've taken from your children is every sacrifice a parent makes. And you wouldn't know anything about that because you've never actually been their parent. I gave birth to them. And then you left them in a dark apartment with no food. My voice broke. I was losing control and I didn't care anymore. Do you know what Sarah told me that first night? After I got them cleaned up and fed, she said, "Thank you for coming, Grandma. I tried to take care of them like Mommy would want, but I didn't know how." 7 years old, Clara. She was 7 years old and she thought it was her job to raise her siblings because you'd already checked out. Clara sank back into her chair. "I was sick. I've told you I was sick." "Then you should have gotten help. You should have called someone, anyone. You shouldn't have just walked away from 3 babies like they were a subscription you could cancel." "That's enough." Judge Moreno's voice cut through the emotion like a knife. "We're going to take a 15-minute recess. When we return, I want to hear from the children themselves. Mrs. Ellison, your grandchildren are adults now, or close to it. Sarah is 20, Tyler is 18, Emma is 16. Are they here?" "They're in the waiting room." "Good. We'll hear from them when we reconvene. This court is in recess." The gavel came down. I sat there shaking. Tom put a hand on my shoulder. "You did good, Martha. You got the truth out." "She's going to cry about being sick," I said. "She's going to make herself the victim." "Let her try. The judge isn't buying it. Did you see her face when she read those emails?" I had. But I'd also learned a long time ago not to count on the system working the way it should. I'd seen good parents lose their kids over nothing. I'd seen terrible parents keep custody because they knew how to work the system. Clara's lawyer was huddled with her, speaking in urgent whispers. Clara kept shaking her head, dabbing at her eyes with a tissue. "She's probably telling her to take a deal," Tom said. "Drop the kidnapping allegations. Negotiate for supervised visitation. Walk away with something." "She won't take it. She wants the money. Then we'll give her a fight." The 15 minutes felt like 15 seconds. Before I knew it, the bailiff was calling us back. I watched as Sarah, Tyler, and Emma filed into the courtroom. My heart clenched seeing them. They dressed up. Sarah in a simple black dress, Tyler in slacks and a button-down, Emma in a navy skirt and white blouse. They looked nervous but determined. Clara gasped when she saw them. "My babies," she whispered. Sarah's expression didn't change. Tyler looked at the floor. Emma stared at Clara like she was a stranger, because she was a stranger. That was the awful truth. These were her children, but she didn't know them. She didn't know that Sarah bit her thumbnail when she was anxious, or that Tyler hummed under his breath when he concentrated, or that Emma still slept with the stuffed rabbit I'd bought her that first terrible night. Judge Moreno waited until they were seated. "Thank you for coming. I know this is difficult. I'm going to ask you some questions, and I need you to answer honestly. You're not in trouble, and whatever you say won't get anyone in trouble. I just need to understand your perspective, okay?" They nodded. "Sarah, you're the oldest. Do you remember your mother leaving?" Sarah's voice was steady. "Yes, Your Honor." "Can you tell me what you remember?" Sarah glanced at me. I nodded. She took a breath. "I remember Mom had been acting strange for a while. She'd stay in her room a lot. She'd forget to buy groceries. Sometimes she'd be really happy and take us to the park, but then she'd be sad for days and we'd have to be really quiet. Then one day I woke up and she was just gone. There was a note on the fridge that said, 'Be good, Mom needs a break.' That was it." "How long were you alone before your grandmother arrived?" 2 days, maybe 3. I'm not totally sure because I was trying to keep track, but I was also trying to take care of Tyler and Emma, and everything was confusing. "What did you do during those days?" "I made sandwiches until the bread ran out. I tried to change Tyler's diaper, but we didn't have any clean ones left. Emma got sick and I didn't know what to do. I found Grandma's number in Mom's phone and called her." "And your grandmother came and got you?" "She drove all night. She brought food and clean clothes, and she took Emma to the hospital because her fever was really high. She saved us." Clara made a choking sound. "I didn't know. I thought my mother would come sooner." "Did you ask your mother to come?" Judge Moreno asked. Clara fell silent. "Ms. Reed, did you call your mother and tell her you were leaving the children alone?" I don't remember exactly." "I have phone records," Tom said quietly. "No calls from Miss Reed to Mrs. Ellison in the 6 months prior to her disappearance." Judge Moreno turned back to Sarah. "After your grandmother took you in, did you hear from your mother?" "No, Your Honor, not for years. And when Grandma told us she'd sent letters asking for money, Sarah's composure cracked. I just kept thinking, if she could write letters, why didn't she write to us? Why didn't she want to know if we were okay? Tyler spoke up, his voice rough. She forgot about us. I didn't forget, Clara cried. I never forgot you. Then why didn't you come back? Emma asked. Her voice was small but fierce. Why didn't you call? Why didn't you even send us birthday cards? Clara stood up. I wanted to every day, but I was so ashamed, and I thought you'd be better off without me. We were, Tyler said flatly. We were better off with Grandma. The truth of it hung in the air, brutal and undeniable. Judge Moreno looked at the children. Do you have a relationship with your mother now? Sarah shook her head. She sent Facebook friend requests last month. I didn't accept. She doesn't know us. She doesn't know anything about us. Do you want a relationship with her? The three of them looked at each other. Some silent communication passed between them. Sarah answered for all of them. Your Honor, I understand she's our biological mother. I understand she was sick when we were young. But she had 13 years to get better and come back. 13 years to call or write or try. She didn't do any of that until she found out we had money waiting for us. That tells me everything I need to know about what we mean to her. I love you. Clara was sobbing now, really sobbing. I love all of you. I made mistakes, but I'm your mother. Grandma is our mother, Emma said quietly. You're just the person who gave birth to us. The words landed like a slap. Clara crumpled. Her lawyer stood quickly. Your Honor, these children have clearly been poisoned against my client. We haven't been poisoned, Tyler interrupted. We've been protected. There's a difference. Judge Moreno studied them for a long moment. Then she looked at me. Mrs. Ellison, these children are articulate, well-adjusted, and clearly devoted to you. Whatever happened in their early years, you've done right by them. Relief flooded through me so fast I got dizzy. However, the judge continued, I need to review all the documentation carefully before making a final ruling. This is a complex case with serious allegations on both sides. We'll reconvene in 1 week for a final hearing. In the meantime, the current custody arrangement stands. Mrs. Ellison retains guardianship, and Ms. Reed is prohibited from contacting the children outside of supervised settings arranged through the court. Is that clear? Clara's lawyer started to object, but Clara put a hand on her arm. Your Honor, Clara said, her voice thick with tears. I just want what's best for my children. Then you should have thought about that 13 years ago, the judge said. There was no sympathy in her voice. This court is adjourned. We filed out of the courtroom in a daze. In the hallway, Sarah, Tyler, and Emma surrounded me. Are you okay, Grandma? Sarah asked. I should be asking you that. We're fine, Tyler said. We just told the truth. I'm proud of you, I said, all three of you. That couldn't have been easy. Emma hugged me tight. She's not taking us away from you, right? Not if I have anything to say about it. But as we walked out of the courthouse into the bright afternoon sun, I couldn't shake the feeling that this was far from over. Clara was desperate. Desperate people do dangerous things, and she still had 1 week to make her move. That night I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying Clara's face in the courtroom. The tears, the trembling voice, the performance of it all, because that's what it was, a performance. And I'd seen her perform before. I was 17 when Clara was born. My miracle baby, the doctors called her, because they told me I couldn't have children. Richard and I had been married 3 years, had made peace with being childless, and then suddenly there she was, pink and perfect and screaming her lungs out. I thought I'd never loved anything so completely. Maybe that was the problem. Maybe I'd loved her too much, excused too much, enabled too much. The house was quiet except for the ancient refrigerator humming in the kitchen. Sarah, Tyler, and Emma had gone to bed hours ago, but I could see the light under Sarah's door. She was probably up studying. That girl pushed herself too hard, always had. Straight A's through high school, full scholarship to State University, working 2 part-time jobs to cover what the scholarship didn't. She'd be the first in our family to graduate college. Tyler had school in the morning, senior year. Thank goodness we were almost through it. He'd been struggling with math, but refused to quit. Grandma, he'd told me last month. You didn't quit on us. I'm not quitting on calculus. Nearly broke my heart. And Emma, sweet Emma, with her art and her quiet strength. She'd been so little when Clara left, she barely remembered her mother at all. Sometimes I wondered if that was a blessing. My phone buzzed on the nightstand, 11:47 p.m. I picked it up, squinting at the screen. Unknown number, text message. We need to talk alone. Please, Mom, just give me a chance to explain. Clara, had to be. I deleted it without responding. Another buzz. I know you think I'm only here for the money. You're wrong. Let me prove it. Delete. I made mistakes, but I'm still your daughter. Doesn't that mean anything? My finger hovered over the delete button. Doesn't that mean anything? Like, I was the one who'd walked away. Like, I was the one who'd broken the bond between us. I typed back, you lost the right to call me Mom when you abandoned your children. Don't contact me outside of court. I blocked the number and tried to sleep. I managed maybe 3 hours, full of dreams where I was searching for the kids in that dark apartment and couldn't find them. The next morning, Tom called before I'd even had my coffee. Martha, we've got a problem. My stomach dropped. What kind of problem? Clara's lawyer filed an emergency motion. They're claiming you coached the kids, that their testimony was rehearsed, and that you're continuing to alienate them from their mother. They want an immediate psychiatric evaluation of all 3 children to determine if they've been subject to undue influence. I sat down hard at the kitchen table. That's insane. The kids spoke from their heart. I know that, you know that, but Clara's team is pushing the narrative that you've spent 13 years poisoning them against her. They're saying the kids are so traumatized by your manipulation that they can't see clearly. So what happens now? Judge Moreno will review the motion. If she grants it, the kids will have to undergo psychological evaluations. Court-appointed psychiatrists, the whole 9 yards. It could delay the final hearing by weeks, maybe months. Tom, those kids have been through enough evaluations to last a lifetime. After Clara left, they all needed therapy. Sarah had nightmares for 2 years. Tyler developed anxiety. Emma stopped talking for 6 months. I'm not putting them through more trauma because Clara suddenly decided to play the victim. I understand, but if the judge orders it, then we fight it. There has to be a way to fight it. Tom sighed. There is, but it's risky. We could petition for an expedited hearing, argue that the delay itself is harmful to the children's well-being, push for a decision now instead of dragging this out. Do it. Martha, if we push for an expedited hearing and something goes wrong, if the judge rules in Clara's favor, she won't. You can't be sure of that. Family court is unpredictable. I've seen cases where... Tom, I cut him off. These kids are my life. I've sacrificed everything for them. I'm not going to let Clara waltz back in and destroy their stability because she smells money. File the petition today. There was a pause. All right, I'll have it ready by noon. But Martha, you need to prepare yourself for the possibility that this might not go our way. I hung up and stared at my coffee. It had gone cold. Sarah appeared in the doorway, already dressed for her morning shift at the campus bookstore. What's wrong? Nothing you need to worry about. Grandma, she sat down across from me. I heard you on the phone. What's Clara doing now? I couldn't lie to her. Sarah had been the adult in the room when she was 7 years old. She deserved the truth now. She's trying to force you all to undergo psychiatric evaluations. Claims I've manipulated you against her. Sarah's jaw tightened. That's bullshit. Language. It's true though. We're not little kids anymore. We know what happened. We remember. She leaned forward. Grandma, I need to tell you something about that night. The night before you came to get us. Something in her voice made my chest tight. What about it? I didn't tell you everything. I was 7 and I was scared and I didn't know how to explain it. But I'm 20 now, and if this goes to court again, I need you to know the whole truth. Sarah, Clara didn't just leave a note and disappear. She came into my room the night before. I was already in bed. She sat down and told me she was going away for a while. I asked where, and she said somewhere she could think. I asked if we could come, and she laughed. She said, "Baby, where I'm going is no place for kids." I asked how long she'd be gone. She said, "As long as it takes." I felt sick. Did she say anything else? She told me I was the big sister now, and big sisters have to be brave. She said you'd come eventually because you always did, and until then I needed to take care of Tyler and Emma. Then she kissed my forehead and left. She told you to wait for me. She knew you'd be alone for days, and I couldn't finish the sentence. She knew exactly what she was doing, Grandma. She knew you'd come. She was counting on it. She planned the whole thing. The words hit me like ice water. All these years I thought Clara had been in some kind of crisis, some mental break that made her act irrationally. But this was calculated. This was abandonment with premeditation. Why didn't you tell me? Sarah's eyes filled with tears. Because I thought it was my fault. I thought if I'd been better, if I'd been less trouble, maybe she would have taken us with her. It took years of therapy to understand that nothing I did could have changed what she chose. I reached across the table and grabbed her hand. It was never your fault. None of this was ever your fault. I know that now. But Clara doesn't get to rewrite history. She doesn't get to pretend she had some breakdown that made her incapable of rational thought. She made a choice. She looked me in the eye and made a choice. Tyler appeared in the doorway, still in his pajama pants, hair sticking up. Who made a choice? Clara, Sarah said. She's trying to make us see psychiatrists, claims Grandma brainwashed us. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Tyler grabbed a box of cereal from the cupboard. I barely remember her. How can Grandma have brainwashed me against someone I don't even know? Exactly, Sarah said. But her lawyers are going to twist everything. They're going to say we're damaged and can't think for ourselves. Let them try. Tyler poured cereal with more force than necessary. I'll tell any psychiatrist the same thing I told the judge. Clara's a stranger who happens to share my DNA. Grandma's my real family. Emma shuffled in, rubbing her eyes. Why is everyone up so early? And why are we talking about Clara again? Because she won't go away, Tyler said. She will, I said firmly. We just have to get through one more week, one more hearing, then this is done. But even as I said it, I knew it wasn't true. Clara had tasted the possibility of that money. She wouldn't walk away quietly. The next 3 days were hell. Clara's lawyer filed motion after motion, demanding access to the kids' school records, medical records, therapy notes from years ago. Tom fought every single one, but it was exhausting. I felt like we were under siege. On Thursday, Sarah came home from class. White-faced. She was there, she said, at campus, waiting outside my psychology lecture. My blood went cold. Clara, she tried to talk to me. Said she just wanted 5 minutes, that the lawyers and courts were getting in the way of us having a real conversation. I told her to leave me alone. She started crying, saying I was breaking her heart, that she'd made mistakes, but she'd never stopped loving me. What did you do? I walked away. But Grandma, she followed me, all the way to the parking lot. She kept saying we could fix this, that we didn't need lawyers, that family should work things out privately. She said if I just talked to Tyler and Emma, if we all agreed to drop the court case, she'd make sure we got our inheritance without any fighting. She's trying to manipulate you. I know that, but she was so convincing for a second I almost believed she actually cared. Then she said something that made me realize what this is really about. What did she say? She said, your grandfather would want his grandchildren to have what he left them, without it being tied up in legal battles. We could settle this quickly and you'd have access to your money by your birthday. My money, Grandma. Not a relationship with me, not getting to know me, my money. I pulled Sarah into a hug. She was shaking. I'm calling Tom, I said. Clara violated the judge's order. She's not supposed to contact you outside of supervised settings. Will they arrest her? I don't know, but they need to know she's harassing you. Tom was livid when I told him. This is exactly what I was afraid of. Clara's getting desperate. I'll file a complaint with the court immediately, and I'm requesting that the judge issue a restraining order. In the meantime, you all need to be careful. If she approaches any of you again, Don't engage. Just document it. Time, place, what was said. And call the police if you feel threatened. You think it'll come to that? Martha, I've been practicing family law for 30 years. I've seen parents do unspeakable things when money's involved. Clara's already shown she's willing to violate court orders. Don't assume she'll stop there. That night, I barely slept again. I kept hearing footsteps that weren't there, seeing shadows that were just tricks of the light. Around 2 a.m., I gave up and went to the kitchen to make tea. Emma was already there, sitting in the dark. Couldn't sleep either, I asked. She shook her head. I keep thinking about what Sarah said, about Clara following her. What if she comes here? She won't. But what if she does? What if she tries to take us? Emma, you're 16 years old. She can't just take you. None of you are little kids anymore. But what if the judge gives her custody? What if we have to live with her? I sat down and pulled Emma close. That's not going to happen. You can't promise that. She was right. I couldn't, and the uncertainty was eating at all of us. When I was your age, I said quietly, your grandfather and I were already dating. We'd known each other since middle school. He used to say that some people are in your life for a reason, and some are just passing through. Clara, she's passing through. You three are my reason. Nothing and no one is going to change that. I wish she'd just disappear again, Emma whispered. Is that terrible? To wish your own mother would just go away? No, honey, it's honest. We sat there in the dark for a while, not talking, just being together. Eventually, Emma went back to bed. I stayed up watching the sun rise, dreading what the day might bring. Tom called at 8 a.m. Judge Moreno denied Clara's motion for psych evaluations. She also granted our petition for an expedited final hearing. We're back in court Monday morning. Relief flooded through me. Monday, that's 3 days from now. The judge isn't happy about Clara contacting Sarah. She wants this resolved quickly before things escalate further. I'm also filing for a temporary restraining order this afternoon. If it's granted, Clara won't be able to come within 500 feet of any of you until after the hearing. Thank you, Tom. Don't thank me yet. We still have to get through Monday. And Martha, there's something else you should know. Clara's lawyer contacted me this morning with a settlement offer. My stomach clenched. What kind of offer? Clara's willing to drop all custody claims and the kidnapping allegations. In exchange, she wants a lump sum payment of $250,000 from the Children's Trust Fund. She's calling it compensation for lost time and emotional damages. I laughed, but there was no humor in it, so she's finally admitting this is about money. Essentially, yes, though she's framing it as a compromise. She walks away, the kids keep most of their inheritance, everyone moves on. What happens if we say no? Then we go to trial Monday and let the judge decide. We say no. Martha, $250,000 is a lot of money, but the kids would still have 3/4 of the trust fund. It might be worth it to just end this. No. My voice was hard. Clara doesn't get to extort money from her own children. She doesn't get to profit from abandoning them. We go to court. We let the judge see exactly what kind of person she is, and we make sure she never gets a dime. Tom was quiet for a moment. All right, I'll inform her attorney that we're rejecting the settlement. But Martha, this means Clara's going to come at us with everything she's got. She's desperate now. Desperate people are dangerous. Then we'll be ready. But I wasn't ready for what happened next. Friday afternoon, I was at work, the same department store where I'd been working for 13 years, folding clothes and ringing up customers for $12.50 an hour. My manager, Denise, called me to her office. Martha, I need to talk to you about something sensitive. I sat down confused. What's going on? I got a call today from a woman claiming to be your daughter. She said you'd been stealing from the store. She said you'd been taking merchandise home without paying, and that she'd seen evidence of stolen goods in your house. The floor seemed to tilt. That's not true. Denise, you know me. I would never... I know. I told her I'd been working with you for over a decade, and I'd never had any concerns about your integrity, but she was very insistent. She said she had proof. that she was going to contact corporate if I didn't investigate. It's Clara, my estranged daughter. We're in the middle of a custody battle. She's trying to sabotage me. Denise nodded slowly. I figured it might be something like that. I'm not taking her accusation seriously, Martha, but I do have to document the call and report it to HR. It's company policy. I understand. Is there anything else I should know? Anything that might come up? I thought about Clara showing up at the store, making a scene, getting me fired right before the final hearing. Just that she's unpredictable and she's willing to lie to get what she wants. Noted. Look, I'm on your side here, but if she does contact corporate or if she shows up here, I need you to let me know immediately. I left work early, sick with anger and fear. Clara was trying to destroy my life piece by piece, my credibility with the kids, my job, what would be next. I got my answer that evening when Sarah called, sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. Grandma, someone hacked my email. All my scholarship information is gone. The acceptance letters, the financial aid documents, everything. And they sent emails to the financial aid office saying I wanted to withdraw from school. What? Who would? But I already knew. It's her, isn't it? It's Clara. She's trying to ruin everything. I drove to campus immediately. Sarah was in the IT office with a technician trying to recover her files. Tyler showed up 20 minutes later. Sarah had called him too. This is insane, Tyler said. She can't just destroy Sarah's future because she's mad about court. We don't know for sure it was her, I said, though I absolutely knew. The IT technician, a tired-looking guy in his 20s, shook his head. I can see the login came from an IP address in Miami. Someone accessed your account remotely and systematically deleted files. They also sent those withdrawal emails to make it look like you were dropping out. Can you trace who did it? I asked. I can give you the IP address and timestamp, but unless you file a police report, I can't do much more than that. We filed a police report. The officer who took our statement was sympathetic but not encouraging. Email hacking cases are tough to prosecute unless you can definitively prove who accessed the account. Even with an IP address, a good lawyer will argue it could have been anyone using that computer or network. But it has to be Clara, Sarah said. Who else would do this? You're probably right, the officer said, but probably doesn't hold up in court. I'll file the report, and if you can gather more evidence linking this to your mother, bring it to us. We drove home in defeated silence. When we walked into the house, Emma was sitting on the couch with her phone, crying. What now? I asked, exhausted. Someone created a fake Instagram account using my name. They're posting horrible things, saying I do drugs, that I sleep around, that Grandma beats us. She handed me her phone. The posts were vicious. Photos of Emma that had clearly been taken from her real account, but with captions that painted her as troubled, promiscuous, abused. Comments from fake accounts agreeing, spreading the lies further. How many people have seen this? I asked. It's already been shared in my school's group chat. Everyone thinks it's real. My friends are texting me asking if I'm okay, if I need help, if it's true that you hit me. I sat down before my legs gave out. This wasn't just about the court case anymore. Clara was systematically destroying our lives, trying to break us before Monday's hearing. We're calling Tom, I said, right now. Tom answered on the second ring. I told him everything, the call to my work, Sarah's hacked email, Emma's fake Instagram account. She's violating the restraining order, Tom said immediately. Even if we can't prove she personally did these things, the timing is too convenient to be coincidence. I'm contacting the judge first thing tomorrow morning. This is harassment, cyberbullying, and possibly witness intimidation. What can the judge actually do? Issue a stronger restraining order. Order Clara to appear in court immediately to answer for these violations. In extreme cases, the judge could have her held in contempt, which means jail time. Good, she deserves it. Martha, I need you and the kids to document everything, every phone call, every text, every fake post, every strange email, screenshots, timestamps, everything. We're building a case that shows a pattern of harassment and manipulation. By Monday, I want to bury Clara so deep in evidence that no judge in the country would give her custody of a goldfish, let alone 3 kids. We spent the entire weekend documenting. Sarah printed out email logs. Emma screenshotted every fake post and hateful comment. Tyler started a detailed timeline of every interaction with Clara since she'd first contacted me about the inheritance. I found something too, something I'd almost forgotten about. In the back of my closet, in a box of old papers, I found the letters Clara had sent me over the years. Not just the ones I'd shown the judge, but all of them. 15 letters spanning 13 years. I read through them again with fresh eyes. The pattern was clear. Every letter started with some variation of "I miss you" or "I think about the kids constantly." But within a few sentences, the real ask appeared. Money. Always money. Different amounts, different excuses, but always money. One letter, sent about 6 years ago, was particularly damning. Clara wrote, "I know you probably hate me for leaving, and honestly I can't blame you, but those kids were drowning me. Every time I looked at them, I felt like I was suffocating. You probably can't understand that, but it's the truth. Anyway, I'm trying to start fresh out here. New city, new job, new life. But the deposit on my apartment is more than I expected. Could you spot me $800? I'll pay you back, I promise." She'd signed it, "Your Clara," like we were friends instead of mother and daughter, like she hadn't just admitted that her children made her feel like she was drowning. I added the letter to our evidence pile. Sunday evening, Tom called with an update. Judge Moreno is not happy. She reviewed our complaint about the harassment, and she's ordered Clara to appear in court tomorrow morning before the hearing to explain herself. The judge is also considering holding her in contempt, which would weaken her custody claim significantly. "So we might win this?" I asked. "Martha, we're going to win this. Clara's done everything possible to destroy her own case. She's shown herself to be manipulative, vengeful, and completely focused on money rather than the children's well-being. No judge is going to award custody to someone like that. But I'd learned not to count my chickens. I'd learned that the system didn't always work the way it should. That night, I lay in bed staring at the ceiling, thinking about Monday, thinking about what would happen if somehow, impossibly, Clara won. Would I fight? Would I run? Would I do exactly what Clara had accused me of and disappear with the kids? The scary thing was, I didn't know the answer. A soft knock on my door pulled me from my thoughts. "Grandma?" Sarah's voice. "Can I come in?" "Of course." She slipped into the room and sat on the edge of my bed, just like she used to when she was little and had nightmares. "I'm scared," she said quietly. "Me too. What if something goes wrong tomorrow? What if the judge believes her? Then we appeal. We keep fighting. For how long? As long as it takes." Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then, "I need you to know something. Whatever happens tomorrow, whatever the judge decides, you're my mother. Not Clara, you. You're the one who raised me, who taught me right from wrong, who sat up with me when I was sick and helped me with homework and came to every school event. Clara might have given birth to me, but you made me who I am." My eyes filled with tears. "Sarah, I mean it. And Tyler and Emma feel the same way. We're a family because of you. Nothing Clara does can change that." She hugged me tight, and I held on like she was the only solid thing in a tilting world. "Get some sleep," I whispered. "Tomorrow we end this." But neither of us slept much that night. Monday morning came too fast and too slow at the same time. We got to the courthouse an hour early. Tom was already there, looking sharp in a dark suit, papers organized in neat folders. "Ready?" he asked. "As ready as we'll ever be." Clara arrived 15 minutes before the hearing was scheduled to start. She was with a different lawyer this time, a man in his 50s with silver hair and an expensive suit. The woman lawyer from before was nowhere to be seen. "She fired her attorney," Tom murmured, "probably because the first one told her the harassment was a bad idea. This new guy, his name's Marcus Webb. He's known for aggressive tactics. This could get ugly. Good, I said. I'm tired of playing nice. We filed into the courtroom. Judge Moreno was already seated, looking stern. Before we proceed with the custody hearing, she said, I want to address the allegations of harassment and violation of protective orders. Ms. Reed approached the bench. Clara walked forward, and her new lawyer started to follow. Just Ms. Reed, the judge said sharply. Clara stood alone in front of the judge's bench. She looked small, suddenly, vulnerable. Another performance. Ms. Reed, are you aware that you were ordered not to contact the children outside of supervised settings? Yes, Your Honor, but yes or no, Ms. Reed? Yes. And yet you approached Sarah Ellison at her university last Thursday. Is that correct? I just wanted to talk to her. I wasn't trying to... Yes or no? Clara's jaw tightened. Yes. And can you explain the series of harassing incidents that occurred over this weekend? The hacking of Sarah's email account, the fake social media profiles, the defamatory phone calls to Mrs. Ellison's employer. Your Honor, I don't know anything about those things. I would never... Judge Moreno held up a piece of paper. This is a report from a digital forensics expert hired by Mrs. Ellison's attorney. It traces the IP address used to hack Sarah's email to a computer at the Miami Beach Public Library. The login occurred at 2:47 p.m. on Friday. Do you have an alibi for that time, Ms. Reed? Clara's face went white. I was at the library, but I wasn't hacking anyone's email. I was just using the computer to check my own email. What an interesting coincidence, the judge said dryly. And the fake Instagram account was created from the same IP address 20 minutes later. That doesn't prove anyone could have used that computer. Ms. Reed, I'm going to be very clear with you. I find your behavior over the past week to be reprehensible. You violated court orders, harassed minors, and attempted to intimidate witnesses. You've shown yourself to be vindictive, manipulative, and utterly unconcerned with the well-being of the children you claim to love. Given this behavior, I'm finding you in contempt of court. Clara gasped. Your Honor, please. I'm imposing a fine of $5,000 and I'm extending the restraining order to last for 1 full year. You are not to contact Mrs. Ellison or any of the children by any means. Phone, email, social media, third parties. Nothing. Is that understood? But the custody hearing will proceed with the hearing, but I want you to understand that your actions this week have severely damaged your credibility in my eyes. Now return to your seat. Clara stumbled back to her table. Her lawyer leaned over and whispered urgently in her ear. She shook her head, looking stunned. Judge Moreno turned to the rest of us. Let's proceed. Mr. Webb, I understand you're now representing Ms. Reed. Do you wish to make an opening statement? Webb stood smoothly. Your Honor, my client acknowledges that she's made errors in judgment this week. She's been under extreme stress, dealing with the trauma of being separated from her children for 13 years. However, the core facts of this case remain unchanged. Clara Reed is the biological mother of 3 children who were removed from her care during a mental health crisis. She's worked hard to rebuild her life, and she's ready to resume her parental responsibilities. Mrs. Ellison had no legal right to take those children and keep them from their mother for over a decade. What she did constitutes parental kidnapping, regardless of her good intentions. We're asking the court to return the children to their rightful parent and to consider criminal charges against Mrs. Ellison for her actions. Tom stood. Your Honor, Mr. Webb's characterization of events is fiction. Mrs. Ellison didn't take the children. She rescued them from a life-threatening situation of neglect and abandonment. Ms. Reed had every opportunity to reclaim her children through legal means. She chose not to because she wasn't interested in being a mother. She's only interested now because of the inheritance. That's a slanderous accusation, Webb snapped. It's a fact supported by evidence, Tom countered. He pulled out the stack of Clara's letters. Your Honor, These are letters Ms. Reed sent to Mrs. Ellison over the course of 13 years. Not once did she ask to see the children. Not once did she ask how they were doing. Every single letter asked for money. I'd like to enter these into evidence. Judge Moreno took the letters and began reading. The courtroom was silent except for the rustle of paper. Clara was crying again, but quietly this time, like she knew it wouldn't help. Miss Reed, the judge said finally, in this letter dated 6 years ago, you wrote, and I quote, "Those kids were drowning me. Every time I looked at them, I felt like I was suffocating." Do you remember writing that? Clara's voice was barely a whisper. I was in a bad place. That was 7 years after you left them. 7 years of therapy and getting your life together, according to your testimony. And you still felt that way about your own children? I didn't mean it the way it sounds. How did you mean it? Clara had no answer. Judge Moreno set the letters aside. I'm going to ask the children to approach. Sarah, Tyler, Emma, please come forward. They stood together and walked to the front of the courtroom. I wanted to go with them, to stand between them and whatever was coming, but I forced myself to stay seated. I've read your statements, the judge said gently. I've reviewed the evidence, and I've listened to both sides present their cases. I want to ask you each one question, and I want you to answer honestly. Don't say what you think I want to hear, just tell me the truth. She looked at Sarah. Sarah, if I were to grant your mother custody, would you comply with that order? Sarah met the judge's eyes steadily. No, Your Honor. Even if it meant being held in contempt of court yourself. I'm 20 years old. I'd leave. I'd get my own apartment and I'd make sure Tyler and Emma had a place to stay if they needed it. But I wouldn't live with Clara. She's not my mother in any way that matters. The judge turned to Tyler. Tyler? Same answer, Your Honor. I turn 18 next month. I'd legally emancipate myself before I'd live with her. Emma, you're 16. You're the only one who's still a minor without the option to leave. What would you do? Emma's voice shook but didn't break. I'd run away. I know that sounds dramatic, but it's the truth. I'd rather live on the street than live with someone who abandoned me and only came back for money. Clara sobbed openly now. Please, please don't say that. I love you. I've always loved you. You don't know us, Emma said, turning to face her. You don't know that Sarah wants to be a doctor, or that Tyler writes poetry, or that I'm terrified of thunderstorms, because when you left us that night, there was a storm. And I thought the thunder was you coming back, and it never was. You don't know any of that because you were never there. Grandma knows. Grandma held me during storms until I stopped being scared. That's what a mother does. The courtroom was so quiet I could hear my own heartbeat. Judge Moreno removed her glasses and rubbed her eyes. When she spoke, her voice was heavy. I've been on the bench for 15 years. I've seen a lot of custody cases. I've seen good parents lose their children due to poverty or bad luck. I've seen terrible parents retain custody because they knew how to work the system. This case is neither of those things. She looked at Clara. Ms. Reed, I believe you when you say you were struggling 13 years ago. I believe you had mental health issues that made parenting difficult. But you had 13 years to get help, to rebuild, to reach out to your children. You didn't. And your actions this past week have shown me that you're still not capable of putting their needs above your own wants. She turned to me. Mrs. Ellison, you stepped in when these children needed someone. You sacrificed your retirement, your finances, your entire life to give them stability and love. You did everything right. My heart was pounding so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Therefore, it is the finding of this court that Clara Reed's petition for custody is denied. Mrs. Martha Ellison will retain full legal guardianship of all 3 children until they reach the age of majority. Furthermore, Clara Reed is prohibited from contacting any of the children for a period of 1 year, at which time the restraining order can be reviewed if circumstances have changed. She banged her gavel. This court is adjourned. The courtroom erupted. Clara was screaming something about appeals and injustice. Her lawyer was trying to calm her down. Sarah, Tyler, and Emma were crying and hugging me. Tom was grinning. We did it, Martha. We actually did it. But through the chaos, I heard Clara's voice cut through. This isn't over. I'll appeal. I'll take this all the way to the Supreme Court if I have to. You can't keep me from my children." I looked at her across the crowded courtroom. Our eyes met. And I saw it then. Not grief or maternal longing or even anger. I saw calculation. This wasn't over, not even close. That look in Clara's eyes haunted me all the way home from the courthouse. I tried to shake it off, told myself I was being paranoid, that we'd won and it was finally over. But my hands wouldn't stop trembling on the steering wheel. Sarah noticed. She was sitting in the passenger seat while Tyler and Emma followed in Tyler's beat-up Honda. "Grandma, you okay?" "Fine, just tired." "You're not fine. You're white-knuckling the wheel." I loosened my grip. I just keep thinking about what Clara said about appeals. Tom said appeals almost never work in cases like this. The judge's ruling was clear. I know what Tom said. I turned onto our street. But your mother, Clara, she doesn't give up when she wants something. She never has. Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then, what was she like before everything went bad? I'd avoided this conversation for 13 years. The kids had asked before when they were younger, but I'd always deflected. Told them their mother loved them once, that she'd been sick, that some things were too complicated to explain. But Sarah was 20 now. She deserved the truth. She was stubborn, I said finally. Smart, funny when she wanted to be. But there was always something, I don't know how to describe it, like she saw the world as something that owed her. Even as a little girl, other kids would play together, share toys. Clara would hoard everything. Mine, mine, mine. I thought she'd grow out of it, but she didn't. No, she got worse. Teenage years were hell. She stole money from my purse, from Richard's wallet, snuck out constantly, got caught shoplifting when she was 15. We sent her to therapy. The therapist said she had oppositional defiant disorder, possible narcissistic tendencies, said we needed to set firm boundaries. Did you? I pulled into our driveway and put the car in park. We tried, but every boundary we set, she'd push until it broke. And I was so tired of fighting. So when she got pregnant with you at 19, I thought maybe that would change her. Maybe having a baby would make her grow up, make her understand that life wasn't just about what she wanted. Obviously, that didn't work. She tried at first, or I thought she was trying, but looking back, I think she was just performing, playing the role of mother because that's what people expected. The real Clara, the one who only cared about herself. She was always there underneath. Tyler and Emma came up the driveway. We all went aside together. The house felt different somehow, lighter, like a weight had been lifted, but I couldn't shake the feeling that we were standing in the eye of a storm. Tom called that evening. "How are you holding up?" "We're okay, relieved." "Good. Listen, I wanted to give you a heads up. Clara's attorney filed a notice of appeal this afternoon." My stomach dropped. "I thought you said..." "I said appeals rarely succeed, and I stand by that. The judge's ruling was thorough and well documented, but Clara has the right to appeal, and apparently she's exercising it. How long will that take?" "Months, maybe a year. The appellate court has to review the case, schedule hearings, make a determination. In the meantime, Judge Moreno's ruling stands. You retain custody, the restraining order stays in effect. But Clara's not going to just wait patiently for a year. Probably not, which is why I'm advising you to be vigilant. Document everything. If she contacts you or the kids in any way, report it immediately. She's already in contempt once. If she violates the restraining order again, the judge could have her arrested." After we hung up, I sat at the kitchen table with a cup of tea I didn't drink and tried to process everything. We'd won. The kids were safe. Clara couldn't touch us for at least a year. So why did I feel like we were still in danger? The answer came 3 days later. I was at work restocking shelves in the women's department when my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me pick up. "Hello? Mrs. Ellison? This is Detective Rodriguez with the Miami-Dade Police Department. I'm calling about a report filed by your daughter, Clara Reed." My blood went cold. "What kind of report?" Ms. Reed has filed a complaint alleging that you've stolen approximately $300,000 from her over the past 13 years. She claims she sent you money for the children's care and you misappropriated the funds for personal use. I actually laughed. That's insane. She never sent money. She asked for money. I have all the letters proving it. I understand there's a dispute between you two, but I'm required to investigate any allegation of theft over $50,000. I'd like to schedule a time for you to come in and make a statement. Am I being charged with something? Not at this time. This is just an initial investigation. Then I'll need to speak with my attorney before I make any statement. There was a pause. That's your right, Mom, but I should tell you, Ms. Reed is being very cooperative. She's provided bank statements showing wire transfers to an account in your name. What? I never received any wire transfers from Clara. According to her records, she sent multiple payments totaling $327,000 over 12 years. The account is at First National Bank, account number ending in 4782. I don't have an account at First National Bank. Then someone's using your name and social security number. Either way, we need to get to the bottom of this. I called Tom immediately after I hung up. He listened to everything and I could hear him typing furiously. She's trying to flip the script, he said. She can't win in family court, so she's going criminal. If she can get you arrested for theft, she can argue you're an unfit guardian. But I didn't steal anything. I don't even have an account at that bank. I believe you. But Clara's smart enough to manufacture evidence. She's probably opened an account in your name using stolen identity documents. Then she made transfers to that account from her own accounts to make it look like she was supporting the kids all along. Can she do that? Just open a bank account in someone else's name. If she has your social security number, birth date, and enough personal information, yes. It's called identity theft, and it's a felony, but proving Clara did it versus someone else, that's going to be tricky. So what do I do? First, don't talk to the police without me present. Second, I'm going to contact the bank and get copies of all the account documentation. Third, we're filing our own criminal complaint against Clara for identity theft and fraud. And fourth, I'm going to petition the judge to revoke her bail on the contempt charge and have her arrested. She's out on bail. She paid the $5,000 fine, but filing a false police report and committing identity theft are violations of the restraining order and contempt ruling. The judge can revoke bail and have her held until the appeal is heard. For the first time that day, I felt a flicker of hope. How long will that take? I'll file the emergency petition tonight. We could have a hearing as early as tomorrow. But nothing in this nightmare moved as fast as it should have. Tom's emergency petition was scheduled for Friday, 4 days away. 4 days of walking around with the knowledge that somewhere in Miami, Clara was building a fake case against me. I couldn't eat, couldn't sleep. Every time my phone rang, I jumped. The kids noticed, but didn't say anything. They'd learned over the years to give me space when I was dealing with Clara's latest crisis. On Wednesday, Sarah came home from class looking shaken. What happened? I asked immediately. There were police on campus today, campus security and actual police. They were asking questions about me. What kind of questions? About my scholarship, about where I got the money for tuition, about whether you helped me pay for school. She sat down heavily. Grandma, they think the scholarship money came from stolen funds. They think you stole from Clara and used it to pay my tuition. That's ridiculous. Your scholarship came from the university. It's merit-based. They can verify that. I know that, and I told them that, but they said they had to investigate because someone filed a complaint saying the scholarship was funded by fraudulent means. She looked at me with scared eyes. They said if the allegations are true, the university might revoke my scholarship. I called Tom immediately, again. She's going after Sarah's education, I said without preamble. She's trying to destroy her future. I heard the university's legal department contacted me an hour ago. They're required to investigate any allegations of financial fraud related to scholarships. But Sarah earned that scholarship. She had a 4.2 GPA, perfect attendance, community service. I know, and the university knows that too, but they have to follow protocol. I've already sent them documentation showing Sarah's scholarship was awarded based on merit, not financial need. I've also sent them copies of your tax returns for the past 5 years, showing you couldn't possibly have funded the scholarship even if you wanted to. Will they revoke it? Not if I have anything to say about it, but Martha, Clara's playing a dangerous game here. She's not just trying to get custody anymore. She's trying to destroy all of you. That night, I couldn't take it anymore. I did something I'd sworn I wouldn't do. I called Clara. I used a burner phone I'd bought at the gas station, so she wouldn't recognize the number. She answered on the third ring. Hello? Hearing her voice made my skin crawl. It's me? Silence. Then, Mom, you're violating the restraining order by calling me. No, you're violating it by filing false police reports and trying to destroy Sarah's scholarship. What the hell is wrong with you? I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. You opened a bank account in my name. You faked wire transfers to make it look like you'd been supporting the kids. You filed a false police report and now you're going after Sarah's education. I did no such thing. If someone opened an account in your name, that's identity theft and you should report it. The casual denial, the fake concern in her voice, it made me want to scream. Clara, listen to me very carefully. You're not going to win this. You're not getting custody. You're not getting the money. All you're doing is proving to everyone what I've known for years, that you're incapable of thinking about anyone but yourself. You stole my children. I saved them. I saved them from you. You had no right. I had every right. You abandoned them. You left them in a dark apartment with no food and no power, and you disappeared for 8 months. What kind of mother does that? A mother who was sick, a mother who needed help. Her voice rose, losing the careful modulation. But you couldn't just help me, could you? You had to swoop in and play the hero. You had to take them and turn them against me. I didn't have to turn them against you. You did that all by yourself when you chose to stay gone for 13 years. I thought they were better off with you. I thought. She stopped abruptly. You thought what? Nothing. Forget it. No, say it. You thought what? I thought they'd be fine with you until I was ready. I thought I could come back when I had my life together and they'd understand. I thought you'd help me rebuild my relationship with them, not poison them against me. The entitlement in her voice was staggering. Clara, you don't get to disappear for 13 years and then expect everyone to welcome you back with open arms. That's not how it works. Those kids grew up without you. They built lives without you. You're a stranger to them. I'm their mother. No, you're the woman who gave birth to them. I'm their mother. I'm the one who sat up with them when they were sick. I'm the one who taught them to ride bikes and helped with homework and held them when they cried. I did all the work of being a mother, and I don't regret a single second of it. Then why won't you share them? The question came out raw, almost childlike. Why can't we both be in their lives? For just a moment, I heard the little girl Clara used to be, the one who wanted everything to be fair, who couldn't understand why she had to share, who threw tantrums when things didn't go her way. Because you don't want to share, I said quietly. You want to take. You want the inheritance. You want to be the hero who swoops in and saves them from mean old grandma. You want the glory without having done any of the work. That's not true. Then prove it. Drop the appeal. Drop the police complaints. Stop trying to destroy Sarah's scholarship. Walk away and let these kids live their lives in peace. I can't do that. Why not? Because they're mine. The childish petulance was back in full force. They are my children, and I deserve to have a relationship with them. You deserve nothing, I said flatly. Relationships aren't something you deserve. They're something you earn. And you haven't earned anything from those kids except their contempt. I hung up before she could respond. My hands were shaking so badly I dropped the phone twice, trying to destroy the SIM card. Tom had told me not to contact Clara under any circumstances. I'd just violated the restraining order myself. If Clara reported the call, I could be held in contempt too. But she didn't report it. She did something worse. The next morning, I woke up to find my car windows smashed. All 4 of them, shattered glass everywhere. Spray painted across the hood in red paint. Thief. I stood in my driveway in my bathrobe staring at the destruction while neighbors peeked out their windows. Tyler came running out. What the hell? Grandma, did you call the police? Not yet. Do it now. This is vandalism. This is wait. He grabbed my arm. You don't think Clara... I don't know what to think anymore. But I did know. Deep down, I knew exactly who'd done this. The police came and took a report. They dusted for fingerprints, took photos, asked if I had any enemies. I told them about the custody battle, the restraining order, everything. They wrote it all down and said they'd investigate. Do you have security cameras? The officer asked. No. Any witnesses? Not that I know of. Then it's going to be tough to prove who did this. We'll check for prints, but if they wore gloves... He shrugged apologetically. Best I can suggest is file an insurance claim and install cameras before this happens again. Before this happens again. Like it was inevitable. Like Clara was going to keep coming until she destroyed everything we'd built. Tom filed the emergency petition that afternoon, citing the vandalism as evidence of ongoing harassment. The hearing was scheduled for the next day. Friday morning, same courthouse, different judge. Judge Patricia Chen was older than Judge Moreno, maybe 65, with silver hair and sharp eyes behind frameless glasses. She read through Tom's petition, read through Clara's response, filed by her attorney that morning, denying everything, and looked at both of us over her glasses. This is quite a mess you've all made, she said. Your Honor, Tom started, my client has been the victim of systematic harassment. I can read, Mr. Brennan. Vandalism, identity theft, false police reports, harassment of a minor's educational institution. She looked at Clara. Ms. Reed, do you have anything to say for yourself? Clara's new lawyer stood. Your Honor, my client maintains her innocence regarding all allegations. She was in Miami at the time of the alleged vandalism. We have time-stamped receipts from a restaurant and bar showing she was 200 miles away when the incident occurred. Judge Chen looked at the receipts. These show she was at a bar in Miami Beach at 11 p.m. on Wednesday. The vandalism occurred sometime between midnight and 6 a.m. Thursday. That's a 5-hour drive. Possible but tight. My client also has sworn statements from 2 friends who were with her all night. She didn't leave Miami. Friends who would lie for her, Tom suggested. Objection. Speculation. Sustained. Mr. Brennan, do you have evidence placing Ms. Reed at the scene? Not physical evidence, Your Honor, but the timing, the message spray painted on the vehicle, the escalating pattern of harassment. Circumstantial, Clara's lawyer interjected. Your Honor, anyone could have vandalized that car. Mrs. Ellison lives in a suburban neighborhood. It could have been random vandals, teenagers, anyone. Judge Chen looked at me. Mrs. Ellison, has anything like this happened before? No, Your Honor. I've lived in that house for 18 years. Never had so much as a broken mailbox. And it happens now right in the middle of a contentious custody battle. Quite a coincidence. Your Honor, Clara's lawyer said smoothly. Coincidences happen. Without concrete evidence, you can't hold my client in contempt for something she didn't do. What about the bank account? Tom asked. The account opened in Mrs. Ellison's name without her knowledge or consent. Clara's lawyer didn't miss a beat. My client believed she was the victim of fraud in that situation. She sent money in good faith to an account she believed belonged to Mrs. Ellison. If someone else opened that account fraudulently, that's not my client's fault. She had to have Mrs. Ellison's social security number to open that account, Tom pressed. How did she get it? My client is Mrs. Ellison's daughter. It's not unusual for family members to have access to each other's personal information. It's unusual to use it to commit fraud. Alleged fraud. Nothing's been proven. Judge Chen held up a hand. Enough. Here's what's going to happen. Ms. Reed, I'm extending the restraining order to 2 years and increasing the distance to 1,000 feet. You are not to contact Mrs. Ellison or the children by any means. You are not to go near their home, their workplaces, their schools. If you violate this order, you will be arrested immediately. Is that clear? Yes, Your Honor, Clara said meekly. However, the judge continued, I'm not finding you in contempt at this time. The evidence of your involvement in the vandalism is insufficient. The bank fraud is being investigated by the police, and I'll let them handle it. Tom started to object, but Judge Chen cut him off. Mr. Brennan, I understand your frustration, but I can't hold someone in contempt based on suspicion and circumstantial evidence. If concrete proof emerges, come back to me. Until then, the restraining order stands, and we all hope Ms. Reed has learned her lesson. She banged her gavel, and we were dismissed. In the hallway, Tom was furious. She's letting Clara get away with it. At least the restraining order is stronger now. A piece of paper won't stop someone like Clara. You need cameras, Martha. Security system. The whole works. I can't afford that. You can't afford not to. Listen, I know a guy who installs security systems. Former client. I'll call him, see if he can give you a deal. Sarah was waiting for us in the lobby. She'd skipped class to be there. What happened? Restraining order extended, no contempt charge. So she just gets away with it again? For now, Tom said, but she's going to slip up eventually. They always do. But I was tired of waiting for Clara to slip up. I was tired of being reactive, defensive, always one step behind. For 13 years, I'd protected those kids from their mother's chaos. I wasn't going to stop now. That weekend, Tyler's friend Marcus came over and installed cameras. 4 of them, front door, back door, driveway and side yard. Motion activated, connected to an app on my phone. Marcus refused payment. Tyler's my best friend, he said, and from what he's told me about his mom, you need these cameras more than I need the money. I tried to pay him anyway. He absolutely wouldn't take it. Finally, I made him a lasagna and sent him home with leftovers. It wasn't enough, but it was something. The cameras made me feel slightly better. At least if Clara showed up, we'd have proof. She didn't show up, not in person anyway. But 2 weeks after Judge Chen's ruling, I got a letter from the Social Security Administration. Someone had filed for early retirement benefits in my name. The letter said I'd need to come in and verify my identity before they could process the claim. I hadn't filed for early retirement. I couldn't afford to. I needed to work until full retirement age to get the maximum benefit. Tom made a call and we discovered that someone had indeed filed paperwork claiming to be me, requesting early retirement benefits starting immediately. The application had been filed online using my social security number and personal information. More identity theft, Tom said grimly. She's trying to access your benefits. Can she do that? Not if we stop it. I'm contacting Social Security to flag your account for fraud. And I'm adding this to our complaint against Clara. This is never going to end, is it? Tom didn't answer right away. When he did, his voice was heavy. Not as long as she thinks there's money to be had. The trust fund matures in a few months when Sarah turns 21. Until then, Clara's going to keep trying. So what do? We protect ourselves. We document everything. We build an airtight case. And when she finally crosses the line far enough, we make sure she goes to jail. But Clara was smarter than I'd given her credit for. Every move she made was just barely legal enough to skirt criminal charges. Identity theft is hard to prove when the victim is a family member who might have voluntarily shared information. Vandalism is hard to prosecute without witnesses or physical evidence. She was destroying us piece by piece, and there was nothing I could do to stop it. Sarah's 21st birthday was 8 weeks away. 8 weeks until she could access her portion of the trust fund. 8 weeks for Clara to make her final move. I started having nightmares again. Dreams where I'd wake up and the kids would be gone and Clara would be standing in the empty room smiling. Emma noticed how jumpy I'd gotten. Grandma, you're scaring me. You barely sleep. You barely eat. You're checking the cameras every 5 minutes. I'm fine. You're not fine. None of us are fine. She's winning, Grandma. She's not getting custody, but she's destroying us anyway. Emma was right. Clara might not have the kids, but she was poisoning our lives just as effectively. I don't know how to stop her, I admitted. I don't know what else to do. Emma hugged me tight. Maybe we need to do something she won't expect. Like what? I don't know yet, but hiding and defending isn't working. Maybe it's time to go on offense. I thought about that conversation for days. Going on offense meant what? Fighting back? Countersuing? Pressing criminal charges? The answer came from an unexpected source. Tyler came home one afternoon with a manila folder. Grandma, you need to see this. Inside were printouts from social media, Clara's accounts, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, posts and photos going back months. Where did you get these? I created a fake profile and sent her a friend request. She accepted. These are all public posts, but some of them are interesting. He pointed to a photo dated 3 weeks after the first custody hearing. Clara at a high-end restaurant, champagne in hand, designer purse on the table. Caption, celebrating new beginnings. Another photo, dated 2 days after Judge Moreno's final ruling. Clara on a yacht with friends. Caption, sometimes you lose the battle but win the war. Stay tuned. And a third, dated just last week. Clara holding up a glass of wine, smirking at the camera. Caption, patience is a virtue. Good things come to those who wait 2 months and counting. 2 months, Tyler said. That's when Sarah turns 21, when the trust fund distributes. She's counting down, I said slowly. She thinks she's going to get that money somehow. But how? She doesn't have custody. She has no legal claim to the funds. I looked at the photos again. The confidence in Clara's smile, the calculated timing of the posts. She has a plan, I said. I don't know what it is yet, but she has a plan. And we had 8 weeks to figure out what it was before Sarah's birthday arrived, and Clara made her final move. I showed Clara's social media post to Tom the next morning. He studied them for a long time, his expression darkening with each photo. She's planning something, he said finally. The question is what? Can we use these posts against her, prove she's been plotting this whole time? Plotting what exactly? Being happy? Going to restaurants? The posts are smug as hell, but they're not illegal. He tapped the screen. This one though, 2 months and counting, that's interesting. She's expecting something to happen on Sarah's birthday. The trust fund distribution. Right, but she has no legal access to it. Sarah's the beneficiary. When she turns 21, the bank will contact her directly and transfer the funds to whatever account she designates. Clara can't intercept that, unless she has access to Sarah's bank account somehow. Tom's eyes widened. When did Sarah open her account? I don't know. Maybe when she was 16. I took her to the bank when she got her first job. Was Clara ever listed on that account as a co-signer or emergency contact? My stomach dropped. I don't remember. Sarah was the one who filled out the paperwork. I just signed as the guardian giving permission. We need to check right now. Sarah was in class, but I called her anyway. She answered on the 4th ring, whispering, Grandma, I'm in lecture. This is important. Your bank account, the one you opened when you were 16. Was Clara ever listed on it? Silence. Then, oh no. Sarah? When I filled out the application, there was a section for family emergency contacts. The banker said it was in case something happened to my card or if there were suspicious charges. I put you down, and there, I think I put Clara's name too, her old address from one of those letters you showed me. I wanted to believe she might care, that if something happened, she'd want to know. Is she still listed? I have no idea. I haven't looked at that paperwork in 5 years. We're going to the bank right now. Skip your next class. Grandma, Sarah, if Clara has any access to your account, she could drain the trust fund the second it hits. We need to fix this today. Tom, Sarah, and I met at First National Bank an hour later. The same bank, ironically, where the fraudulent account in my name had been opened. The branch manager, a nervous man in his 40s named Dennis, pulled up Sarah's account. Let's see here. Account opened June 2021. Primary account holder Sarah Ellison. Secondary account holder Martha Ellison with withdrawal limits. And he paused. There's a third name listed, Clara Reed. She's listed as an authorized user with full account access. What does that mean? Sarah asked. It means she can view your account balance, transaction history, and make withdrawals up to the daily limit. She can't close the account, but she can access the funds. Jesus Christ, Tom muttered. Sarah, have you ever seen any unauthorized withdrawals? No, I check my balance all the time. There's never been anything weird. That's because she's waiting, I said. She's waiting for the trust fund to hit the account. Then she'll drain it before Sarah even knows it's there. Dennis cleared his throat. If you'd like to remove the authorized user, I can process that immediately. Yes, Sarah said. Remove her right now. I'll need to see your ID and have you sign some forms. While Sarah handled the paperwork, Tom pulled me aside. This is premeditation, Martha. Clara's had access to Sarah's account for 5 years and never touched it because there was nothing worth taking. But she's been monitoring it, waiting for the big payout. Can we charge her with something? Attempted fraud, conspiracy? She hasn't actually done anything illegal yet. Having authorized access to an account isn't a crime. It's only fraud if she takes money that doesn't belong to her. So we just have to wait for her to commit a crime before we can stop her? No, we're stopping her right now by removing her access. But Martha, if she had access to Sarah's account, she might have access to Tyler's and Emma's too. We need to check all of them. He was right. Tyler and Emma both had accounts at the same bank. Both opened when they were teenagers with my signature as guardian. We spent the next 2 hours checking every account, every signature card, every authorization form. Clara was listed on all 3. Full access to all 3 kids' accounts. She'd been sitting there like a spider in a web, waiting for the money to flow in so she could drain it dry. How did she even get listed? Emma asked, close to tears. I never put her name down. Dennis checked the dates. These authorizations were added 3 years ago. February 2023. Someone came into the branch with proper ID and requested to be added as an authorized user. We verified the ID and processed the request. Someone with my daughter's ID, I said. Someone who stole her identity. Do you have security footage from 3 years ago? Tom asked. Dennis shook his head. We only keep footage for 90 days. I'm sorry. By the end of the day, Clara's name was removed from all 3 accounts. The kids were safe, their money protected, but I felt sick knowing how close we'd come to losing everything. That night, Sarah sat at the kitchen table with her laptop, staring at her bank account screen like she couldn't quite believe it was real. She was going to rob me, she said quietly. Her own daughter. She was going to steal everything Grandpa left me. But she didn't, I said. We caught it in time. Only because Tyler found those social media posts. If he hadn't been suspicious, if we hadn't checked, she looked up at me with red eyes. She would have gotten away with it. Tyler was pacing the kitchen, too angry to sit still. We should press charges. Identity theft, fraud, conspiracy. Throw everything at her. We can't prove she's the one who added herself to the accounts, I said, though it killed me to admit it. No footage. No witnesses, just suspicious timing. So she just gets away with it again? For now. But Tom's documenting everything, every attempt, every scheme, every violation. When she finally does something we can prove, we'll have a mountain of evidence showing a pattern of behavior. Emma, who'd been quiet this whole time, spoke up. What if she doesn't stop? What if she keeps coming up with new plans? That was the question that kept me up at night. Clara had shown she was willing to commit fraud, identity theft, harassment. How much further would she go? The answer came sooner than I expected. 5 days later, I got a call from Sarah's university. The dean of students wanted to see me immediately regarding a serious matter involving Sarah's enrollment. My heart sank. What kind of matter? I'd prefer to discuss it in person, Mrs. Ellison. Can you come to campus this afternoon? I called Tom, picked up Sarah from class, and we met in Dean Patricia Morrison's office at 2 p.m. She was a severe-looking woman in her 50s with grey hair pulled back tight and reading glasses on a chain. "Thank you for coming," she said, gesturing for us to sit. "I'm afraid we have a situation. We received documentation this morning indicating that Sarah's scholarship application from 4 years ago contained fraudulent information." "What?" Sarah's face went white. "That's not true. I didn't lie about anything." Dean Morrison pulled out a folder. "According to these documents, you claim to be a first-generation college student with a family income below $30,000. However, we've received evidence showing that your biological mother, Clara Reed, has a bachelor's degree from Florida State University and an income exceeding $80,000 per year. Clara isn't my guardian," Sarah said. "She hasn't been part of my life since I was 7 years old. Grandma raised me. Grandma's income is what I reported." Nevertheless, the scholarship application requires disclosure of all parents' education and income, regardless of custody arrangements. If you fail to disclose your mother's information, that constitutes fraud. "I didn't know I had to include her," Sarah said desperately. "She abandoned us. I haven't seen her in 13 years. How was I supposed to know about her income or education?" "Ignorance of the requirements isn't an excuse, I'm afraid." Tom leaned forward. "Dean Morrison, who submitted this complaint? That information is confidential." "Was it Clara Reed?" The dean's silence was answer enough. "This is retaliation," Tom said firmly. "Ms. Reed is engaged in a contentious custody dispute with Mrs. Ellison. She's been harassing the family for months, and now she's weaponizing the scholarship process to hurt Sarah. This is witness intimidation and harassment." "Mr. Brennan, I understand there's a family dispute, but we still have to investigate any allegations of scholarship fraud. The scholarship in question is funded by donor money, and those donors have a right to know their funds are being distributed based on accurate information." "Sarah's information was accurate based on her circumstances," I said. "She was raised by me. She's never received a penny from Clara. Why should Clara's income matter when Clara's never contributed anything to Sarah's life?" "Because the scholarship application clearly states that all biological parents' information must be included, regardless of their involvement in the student's life. I'm sorry, but the rules are clear." "So what happens now?" Sarah asked, her voice barely a whisper. "We'll conduct a full review of your application. If we determine the omission was intentional, your scholarship will be revoked and you'll be required to repay all funds received so far. That would be approximately $64,000. Sarah made a choking sound. "I don't have $64,000. I can't pay that back. Then you'd be expelled for non-payment of tuition, and the debt would be turned over to collections." "This is insane," Tyler said, standing up so fast his chair scraped. "You're going to ruin her life because she didn't include information about a woman who abandoned her." "Mr. Ellison, please calm down. No, this is exactly what Clara wants. She's trying to destroy Sarah's future because she can't steal her money." Dean Morrison's expression hardened. "I understand you're upset, but threatening behavior won't help your sister's case." "I'm not threatening anyone. I'm stating facts." Tom put a hand on Tyler's shoulder. "Dean Morrison, we request that you pause this investigation until the family court case is resolved. Clara Reed is under a restraining order for harassment. This complaint is a clear violation of that order, and using the university to do her dirty work doesn't change that. I can't pause an investigation into scholarship fraud. Then we'll petition the court for an injunction. We'll also contact the scholarship donors directly and explain that Clara Reed, who abandoned her daughter 13 years ago and is now trying to steal her inheritance, filed this complaint in retaliation for losing a custody case. I'm sure they'll be very interested in how their scholarship program is being weaponized by an abusive parent." Dean Morrison's jaw tightened. That sounds like a threat, Mr. Brennan. It's a statement of fact. You do what you need to do, and we'll do what we need to do. We left the office with Sarah shaking and crying. Tyler was still furious. I felt numb. She's going to destroy everything I've worked for, Sarah sobbed in the parking lot. 4 years of straight A's, perfect attendance, Dean's List every semester, and she's going to take it all away. No, she's not, Tom said firmly. We're fighting this. I'm filing an emergency motion to have the Dean's investigation halted as retaliation and harassment. I'm also filing a complaint with the university president and the scholarship board. Will that work? I don't know, but we're not giving up. That night, none of us could eat. Sarah locked herself in her room. Tyler punched a hole in the drywall of his bedroom and then sat on the floor, staring at it like he couldn't believe what he'd done. Emma cried herself to sleep. I sat in the dark living room, watching the security camera feeds on my phone, waiting for Clara to show up and finish the job. She didn't come. She didn't need to. She was destroying us from a distance, using systems and institutions as her weapons. 2 days later, Tyler got a letter from the Selective Service. Someone had reported that he'd failed to register for the draft, which was impossible because he'd registered the day he turned 18. But now there was an investigation, and failure to register was a federal crime that could result in fines and imprisonment. This is Clara, Tyler said, shoving the letter across the kitchen table to me. This is her. She's going after all of us now. He was right. Emma got called into the principal's office the next day because someone had filed an anonymous report claiming she was being abused at home. Child Protective Services wanted to interview her, inspect our house, review our family situation. They asked me if you hit me, Emma said, crying angry tears. If you starved me or locked me in my room or hurt me, I told them no, that you're the best grandmother anyone could ask for, but they kept asking the same questions over and over, like they were trying to get me to change my story. CPS scheduled a home visit for the following week. I'd have to take time off work, clean the house top to bottom, prepare all our financial records, submit to interviews about my parenting. This is what she does, I told Tom on the phone. She can't beat us in court, so she's using every system she can think of to wear us down. The University Selective Service, CPS, she's throwing everything at the wall to see what sticks. I know, and legally there's not much we can do to stop her from filing complaints. Anonymous tips, concerned citizen reports, anyone can file them, and the institutions are required to investigate. So we're just supposed to live like this, constantly defending ourselves against false accusations, until she screws up and does something we can definitively prove, yes. I hung up and stared at the wall. 13 years. I'd been fighting Clara's chaos for 13 years, and I was so tired. Tired of being strong, tired of protecting the kids from someone who should have loved them, tired of watching them suffer for her greed. Sarah found me sitting in the dark that night, still staring at nothing. Grandma, talk to me. I'm fine. You're not fine. None of us are fine. She sat down next to me. I've been thinking, maybe I should just withdraw from school, drop out, get a job, pay back the scholarship money before they revoke it. Absolutely not. But if they expel me anyway, then we'll deal with it. But you're not giving up your education because Clara's a vindictive snake. I don't know how much more of this I can take, Sarah whispered. Every day it's something new. Every day she finds a new way to hurt us. When does it end? I didn't have an answer. The CPS visit was humiliating. A social worker named Jennifer walked through our house taking notes, opening cupboards, checking the refrigerator, examining the kids' bedrooms. She interviewed Emma alone, then Tyler, then Sarah, asking invasive questions about our family dynamics. Has Mrs. Ellison ever hit you? No. Has she ever withheld food as punishment? No. Has she ever locked you in your room or denied you access to the bathroom? No. What the hell kind of question? Please just answer the questions. After 3 hours, Jennifer sat down with me in the kitchen. Mrs. Ellison, I'm going to be honest with you. This complaint has all the hallmarks of a malicious report filed by someone with an agenda. Your home is clean, well maintained, and clearly loving. The children are healthy, well adjusted, and obviously devoted to you. I see no signs of abuse or neglect. Relief flooded through me. So you'll close the case? I'll recommend closure, yes, but the report will remain in the system. If another complaint is filed, we'll have to investigate again. Another complaint? You think there'll be more? Jennifer gave me a sympathetic look. In my experience, when someone files a false report and it doesn't work, they often try again. Be prepared for that possibility. She was right. 2 weeks later, another anonymous report claimed Emma was being trafficked, that I was selling her to strange men for money. The accusation was so vile, so outrageous, I couldn't breathe when the CPS investigator told me. Emma was traumatized by the interview. They asked her explicit questions about sexual abuse, took photos of her body to check for marks or bruises, made her feel dirty and violated. I hate her, Emma sobbed that night. I hate Clara. I've tried to be understanding because she's sick or whatever, but I hate her now. I want her dead. Emma, I mean it. She's ruining our lives and she doesn't even care. She just wants money and she's willing to destroy us to get it. I held her while she cried, and I couldn't even tell her she was wrong, because she wasn't. Clara had proven over and over that there was no line she wouldn't cross, no accusation too horrible, no tactic too low. We were 6 weeks from Sarah's birthday, 6 weeks from the trust fund distribution, 6 weeks for Clara to make her final play. I started sleeping with a baseball bat next to my bed, started checking the locks 3 times before going to sleep, started jumping at every car that drove past the house. Tyler noticed. Grandma, you're going to give yourself a heart attack. I'm fine. You're not fine. You look like you haven't slept in days. I sleep. 2 hours a night doesn't count. He sat down across from me. We need to do something. We can't just keep taking hits and hoping she'll eventually stop. What do you suggest? We've tried everything legal. What about something not legal? I looked at him sharply. Tyler, I'm not saying we hurt her. I'm saying maybe we scare her. Make her understand that if she keeps coming after us, there'll be consequences. That's exactly what she wants. She wants us to do something stupid so she can run to the police and prove we're the bad guys. Then what do we do? I didn't have an answer. For the first time in 13 years, I truly didn't know what to do. The answer came from an unexpected source. Sarah's phone rang at midnight, 3 days later. Unknown number. She answered it half asleep. Hello? Sarah, it's me. It's your mom. Sarah sat bolt upright. How did you get this number? You're not supposed to. Just listen. Please, I need to tell you something. I'm hanging up. You're violating the restraining order. Wait, just give me 2 minutes. 2 minutes and then I'll never contact you again. Sarah looked at me. I'd come running when I heard her voice. I shook my head frantically. Don't engage. Hang up. But Sarah didn't hang up. She put the phone on speaker. 2 minutes, she said. Clara's voice came through, shaky and desperate. I know you hate me. I know I've done terrible things, but I need you to understand. I never wanted it to be like this. I just wanted a chance to be your mother again. By trying to steal my inheritance, by ruining my scholarship, by accusing Grandma of abuse. I didn't do those things. Yes, you did. We know it was you. Sarah, I swear to you, I haven't filed any reports or complaints. I've been in Miami this whole time. I haven't even left my apartment. You're lying. I'm not. I swear on my life, I'm not. Someone's been using my name, my information, filing these complaints and making these reports. But it's not me. I grabbed the phone. If it's not you, then who is it? Silence. Then Clara's voice, barely a whisper. I think it's Marcus, my boyfriend, ex-boyfriend now. I told him about the custody case, about the money, and he's been acting strange, using my computer, asking questions about you and the kids. I think he's the one doing all this. That's convenient, I said. Blame someone else when you get caught. I'm not lying. Please, you have to believe me. He's dangerous. I tried to break up with him last week, and he hurt me. I think he's planning something, and I think it involves Sarah's birthday. My blood ran cold. What kind of something? I don't know exactly, but I heard him on the phone talking about bank accounts and transfers and making sure everything's in place for the 15th. That's Sarah's birthday, isn't it? How do I know you're not making this up? How do I know this isn't another scheme? Because I'm terrified, Clara said, and for the first time, she sounded genuine. I made a lot of mistakes. I hurt you and the kids, but I never wanted anyone to get hurt physically. Marcus, he's different. He's dangerous, and I think he's coming for you. The line went dead. We all stared at the phone. She's lying, Tyler said. It's another manipulation. What if she's not? Sarah asked quietly. Then we call the police, I said, right now. But when we called, the officer who took the report was skeptical. So your estranged daughter called to warn you about her boyfriend who might be planning something? Yes. But she couldn't say what he's planning or provide any concrete evidence. No, but, Mom, we can't investigate based on a vague warning from someone who's violated a restraining order by calling you in the first place. So we just wait until something happens. Document the call. If you see anyone suspicious around your property, call 911 immediately. But there's nothing we can do about a potential threat that might or might not exist. I hung up feeling more helpless than ever. Was Clara telling the truth? Was there really a boyfriend? Or was this another layer of manipulation, another way to make us paranoid and afraid? I didn't know. But I spent the rest of the night sitting by the window, watching the street, waiting for something to happen. 5 weeks until Sarah's birthday. 5 weeks until we found out if Clara was warning us or setting us up for the final blow. The next morning, I did something I never thought I'd do. I hired a private investigator. His name was Frank Delgado, a retired police detective in his 60s who Tom had worked with before. He met me at a coffee shop downtown, ordered black coffee, and listened while I explained everything. So you want me to find out if this boyfriend exists, he said when I finished. And if he does exist, I want to know if he's actually dangerous or if Clara's just playing another game. What if I find out Clara's been behind everything all along and there is no boyfriend? Then at least I'll know for sure. Right now, I'm jumping at shadows. Frank nodded slowly. I'll need Clara's address in Miami, her full name and date of birth, any social media profiles. I'll run background checks, do surveillance if necessary. But Mrs. Ellison, this isn't cheap. My rate is $150 an hour plus expenses. I thought about my savings account, the one I'd been building for emergencies, the one that had maybe $3,000 in it after 13 years of raising 3 kids on a retail salary. How many hours do you think you'll need? Hard to say. Could be 10 hours, could be 40. Depends what I find. I did the math. Even 10 hours would wipe out a chunk of my savings. But what choice did I have? Do it, I said, whatever it takes. Frank started that afternoon. He called me 2 days later with his first report. Clara's living in a studio apartment in a rough part of Miami Beach. Works part-time at a call center, making about $28,000 a year. No college degree on record. That claim about Florida State was a lie. And yes, there's a boyfriend. Name's Marcus Webb. My stomach dropped. Marcus Webb, that's the name of Clara's lawyer, the one who replaced her first attorney. Same guy. He's not actually a lawyer though. He's a paralegal who got disbarred from practicing law 8 years ago for falsifying documents in a custody case. Jesus Christ. Gets better. Webb has a criminal record, fraud, identity theft, forgery. Did 2 years in state prison, released 4 years ago. Since then, he's been working as a legal consultant, helping people navigate custody battles and divorce proceedings. Except what he's really doing is teaching them how to game the system. So Clara hired a criminal to help her steal the kids. Looks that way. And based on what I've observed over the past 48 hours, Webb is definitely the one orchestrating most of this harassment. I watched him go into the Miami Beach library, same one where Sarah's email was hacked, and use the computers for 2 hours. When he left, I sweet-talked the librarian into showing me the sign-in log. He's been there at least a dozen times over the past 2 months. Can you prove he's the one filing the false reports? Not yet, but I'm working on it. In the meantime, you should know that Clara and Webb had a fight 3 nights ago. Neighbors heard screaming, things breaking. Police were called, but no one was arrested. Clara had a black eye the next morning, so that part was true. Webb had hurt her. Is she in danger? Hard to say. Domestic violence situations are unpredictable, but Mrs. Ellison, I think Clara called you because she's scared. I don't think this is a setup. I think she got in over her head with a dangerous man and now she doesn't know how to get out. Part of me wanted to feel sympathy for Clara. She'd made terrible choices and now she was paying for them. But the larger part of me was just angry. Even in crisis, even facing an abusive boyfriend, Clara had managed to bring chaos into our lives. What do I do with this information? I asked. Document it, keep it as evidence, and watch your back. Webb knows about the trust fund. He knows Sarah's birthday's coming up. If he's planning something, it'll happen soon. I thanked Frank and hung up. Then I called an emergency family meeting. Sarah, Tyler, and Emma sat around the kitchen table while I explained everything Frank had found. Tyler's face got redder with each detail. Sarah looked sick. Emma just looked tired. So Clara was telling the truth, Sarah said quietly, about the boyfriend being dangerous. Seems like it, but that doesn't change the fact that she brought him into this. She gave him all our information, all the ammunition he needed to come after us. What's his end game? Tyler asked. If he can't access the trust fund and we've locked down all the bank accounts, what's he planning? That was the question that kept me up at night. Webb was smart, experienced at fraud. He wouldn't have gone to all this trouble if he didn't have a plan. The answer came a week later, and it was worse than anything I'd imagined. Sarah got an official-looking letter in the mail from something called Heritage Trust Administration Services. It claimed to be the company managing Richard's trust fund and requested that Sarah fill out updated beneficiary forms and banking information to ensure prompt distribution of funds on her 21st birthday. Is this real? Sarah asked, bringing the letter to me. I looked at it. Professional letterhead, official-looking language, even a phone number and website. But something felt off. I don't think so. Your grandfather's trust was set up through First National Bank. I've never heard of Heritage Trust. Tom confirmed it an hour later. It's fake. Complete fabrication. The website was registered 2 weeks ago by someone using a P.O. box in Delaware. If Sarah had filled out those forms and sent back her banking information, Webb would have everything he needed to access her account. But we already removed Clara from the account. He can't access it. He doesn't know that. He's still operating under the assumption that Clara has access. The plan was probably for Sarah to update her banking information. Then on her birthday, when the real trust fund money hit the account, Webb would transfer it out using Clara's authorized access before anyone noticed. Except Clara's not authorized anymore. Right. So this scheme was already dead before it started. Webb just doesn't know it yet. Should we report this to the police? Absolutely. This is fraud, forgery, and attempted theft. We have physical evidence now. The letter, the fake website, everything. I'm contacting the FBI. This crosses state lines, which makes it a federal crime. Finally we had something concrete, something we could prove. The FBI took the case seriously. 2 agents came to our house, interviewed all of us, collected the letter and all the documentation Tom had compiled over the months. They traced the website to an IP address in Miami Beach, the same address as Clara's apartment. We'll coordinate with Miami-Dade PD to execute a search warrant, the lead agent told us. If we find evidence that Marcus Webb created this fraudulent trust company, we'll arrest him for wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. What about Clara? I asked. Is she involved? That depends on what we find. If she knowingly participated in the scheme, she'll be charged too. If she was coerced or manipulated by Webb, that's different. The raid happened 3 days before Sarah's birthday. Frank called me with the update. FBI and local cops hit the apartment at 6 a.m., found Webb there with a laptop full of evidence, fake letterhead, forged documents, detailed plans for accessing the trust fund. They arrested him on the spot. What about Clara? She wasn't there. Neighbors said she moved out a week ago, took what she could carry, and disappeared. So she knew this was coming. Probably. Webb likely told her about the plan, and when it got close to execution, she got scared and bailed. Can't say I blame her. Do they know where she is now? No, but Mrs. Ellison, I don't think she's coming back. I think she knows it's over. I wanted to believe that. I wanted to believe Clara had finally realized she couldn't win, couldn't steal what didn't belong to her, couldn't destroy us no matter how hard she tried. But I'd learned not to trust Clara's retreats. She always came back. Sarah's 21st birthday arrived on a Tuesday. We'd planned a small celebration, just family, nothing fancy. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something was going to happen, that Clara would make one last desperate move. The day started normal enough. Sarah opened presents at breakfast. Tyler made her favorite blueberry pancakes. Emma gave her a painting she'd been working on for weeks. A portrait of all of us, our little family, together. At noon, Sarah's phone pinged with a notification from First National Bank. The trust fund had been distributed, $333,333.33 deposited directly into her account. We all stared at the number on the screen. It's real, Sarah whispered. It's actually real. Tyler checked his phone. I got a notification too. My portion of the trust doesn't distribute until my birthday, but the bank sent a confirmation that everything's in order. Emma squealed. This is insane. Sarah, you're rich. We're all rich, Sarah corrected. This is Grandpa's gift to all of us. But I couldn't celebrate. I kept waiting for the other shoe to drop, for Clara to burst through the door, for Webb to somehow hack the account despite being in federal custody, for something to go wrong. Nothing went wrong. The money sat in Sarah's account, safe and untouched. No unauthorized withdrawals, no suspicious activity, just $350,000 that my granddaughter had earned by surviving her mother's abandonment. We made it through dinner. We ate cake. We laughed for the first time in months. And then at 8 p.m., someone knocked on the door. My heart stopped. Tyler moved toward the baseball bat we kept by the coat closet. Sarah grabbed her phone, ready to call 911. I looked through the peephole. Clara stood on my porch, alone, looking smaller than I'd ever seen her. No makeup, hair pulled back in a messy ponytail, dark circles under her eyes. Don't open it, Tyler said. She's violating the restraining order just by being here. I know, but I opened the door anyway, kept the chain lock on. What do you want, Clara? I need to talk to you, please, just 5 minutes. You need to leave before I call the police. I know, I will, but first, she reached into her bag and I tensed, but she just pulled out an envelope. This is for you, for all of you. Just read it, please. She set the envelope on the porch and walked away. Didn't look back, just got into a beat-up Honda and drove off. I picked up the envelope with shaking hands. Inside was a handwritten letter on lined notebook paper. What does it say? Sarah asked. I read it out loud. Mom, Sarah, Tyler, Emma, I know I have no right to ask anything from you. I know I've done terrible things. I abandoned my children. I lied. I manipulated. I brought a dangerous man into your lives because I was too selfish and stupid to see what he really was. Marcus told me he could help me get custody, help me rebuild my relationship with you. I believed him because I wanted to believe him. Because the alternative, accepting that I destroyed everything and it was my own fault, was too painful. I'm not asking for forgiveness. I don't deserve it. I'm not asking for a relationship. I don't deserve that either. I just want you to know that despite everything, despite all my mistakes and lies, I did love you. I do love you. I just loved myself more. And that made me a terrible mother. Sarah, Tyler, Emma, I'm sorry I left you. I'm sorry I wasn't strong enough to be what you needed. I'm sorry I chose money over you, pride over love, my own comfort over your well-being. You deserved better. You deserved a mother who would fight for you instead of run away. You found that in Grandma. Take care of her. She gave you everything I should have given. And don't make my mistakes. Don't let greed poison your life. Don't sacrifice the people who love you for things that don't matter. I'm leaving Florida. I don't know where I'm going yet, but I'm leaving. You'll never hear from me again. That's my final gift to you. Peace. Clara. The room was silent when I finished reading. Emma spoke first. Is she serious? Is she really leaving? I think so, I said quietly. Good, Tyler said. She should have done that 13 years ago. Sarah took the letter from me and read it again, her lips moving silently. She says she loved us. She probably believes that, I said, but Clara's version of love is broken. It's selfish and conditional and ultimately hollow. Real love is what you do, not what you say. And she never showed up when it mattered. Will we ever see her again? Emma asked. I don't know. Maybe. Maybe she'll get help, work through her issues, become someone capable of real relationships. Or maybe this is just another lie and she'll show up in 6 months with a new scheme. What do we do if she comes back? Sarah asked. We do what we've always done. We protect each other. We stand firm. We refuse to let toxic people poison our lives, even if they're family, especially if they're family. Tom called the next morning. The FBI wants to know if you want to press charges against Clara for her role in the fraud scheme. I thought about it. Thought about Clara in prison, finally facing consequences for everything she'd done. Thought about the satisfaction of watching her pay. Then I thought about the kids, about the years of therapy they'd need, about the damage that would come from seeing their biological mother sent to prison, even if she deserved it. No, sir, I said. Webb's the real criminal. Clara was just stupid and desperate. Let him face the consequences. Clara can live with what she's done. Are you sure she committed fraud, identity theft? I'm sure. Let her go. We've spent enough energy on her already. Marcus Webb was sentenced to 8 years in federal prison for wire fraud, identity theft, and conspiracy. The judge called him a predator who exploited vulnerable people in desperate situations. Clara was never charged. The FBI determined she'd been coerced and manipulated, which I suppose was partially true. The university reviewed Sarah's scholarship case and determined that the complaint had been filed in bad faith by a disbarred paralegal with a criminal record. Her scholarship was reinstated with a formal apology from the dean. Tyler's selective service issue was resolved when the false report was traced back to Webb. The CPS investigations were closed and the records sealed. One by one, every lie Clara and Webb had told was dismantled and put to rest. Life slowly returned to normal, or what passed for normal in our family. Sarah graduated summa cum laude 2 years later, used part of her trust fund to pay for medical school, invested the rest. She's in her residency now, saving lives, proving every day that genetics don't determine destiny. Tyler turned 18 and got his portion of the trust fund. Put it all toward college and a small house. He's studying creative writing, working on a novel about a boy raised by his grandmother. Says it's fiction, but I recognize all the details. Emma just turned 18 last month, got her trust fund distribution and immediately set up college accounts for future grandchildren we don't even have yet. That's Emma. Always thinking ahead, always planning for a family. She's determined to treat better than she was treated. As for me, I'm still working retail. Could retire now if I wanted. The kids have offered to support me from their trust funds. But I like having somewhere to go, something to do. Besides, retirement money's there if I ever need it. The kids made sure of that. We never heard from Clara again. No letters, no calls, no surprise visits. She disappeared like she'd always been good at disappearing, only this time she stayed gone. Sometimes I wonder if she actually changed, if she found peace somewhere. Other times I think she probably just found a new mark, a new scheme, a new way to avoid taking responsibility for her life. It doesn't matter anymore. She's not my problem. She's not our problem. The trust fund money sits in accounts earning interest, being used for education and homes and futures. Richard would have been proud. He left that money to give his grandchildren opportunities, and that's exactly what they're doing with it. But the real inheritance, the one that actually mattered, wasn't the money. It was the lesson they learned from watching everything unfold. They learned that blood doesn't make you family. Showing up does. Being there when things are hard, not just when they're easy. Sacrifice and consistency and unconditional love. That's what makes a family. They learned that you can't buy relationships. Clara tried, thought she could disappear for 13 years and then show up, waving dollar signs, and everything would be forgiven. She learned the hard way that some things can't be purchased. They learned to set boundaries with toxic people, even family, especially family. Because sometimes the people who should love you most are the ones who hurt you worst, and you're not obligated to let them keep hurting you just because you share DNA. They learned that greed destroys everything it touches, that chasing money at the expense of relationships leaves you alone and empty, that there's no amount of cash that can fill the hole left by broken bonds. Most importantly, they learned their worth. They learned that they deserved better than abandonment and manipulation. They learned to demand respect and walk away from people who couldn't give it. These are the lessons I wanted to teach them, not through lectures or sermons, but through living it, through showing them what it looks like to choose people over money, love over greed, protection over performance. I'm 69 now. My arthritis is worse. I forget things sometimes. I get tired easier than I used to. But I look at Sarah in her white coat, Tyler with his published poetry, Emma with her art studio, and I know we won. Not because we kept the money, though we did. Not because Clara stayed gone, though she did. We won because those 3 kids grew up knowing they were loved unconditionally, because they learned what real family looks like, because despite everything Clara did, every scheme and lie and manipulation, they came out of it stronger and kinder and more determined to build lives that matter. That's the inheritance Richard really left them. Not money in a bank account, but the example of what it means to love someone, truly love them, enough to fight for them when they can't fight for themselves. Clara was right about one thing in that final letter. I did give the kids everything she should have given, and I'd do it again in a heartbeat. Because that's what love is. Not the easy Instagram moments or the grand gestures. It's the 3 a.m. fevers and the homework help and the financial sacrifices. It's showing up every single day, even when it's hard, even when you're exhausted, even when the person you're protecting is being ungrateful or difficult. Real love is choosing someone else's well-being over your own comfort. It's putting their needs first, not because you have to, but because you want to. Clara never learned that. Maybe she never could. Some people are just too broken, too focused on themselves, too damaged by their own choices to ever truly love anyone else. But I learned it from my husband Richard, who worked 2 jobs to give his family a better life, who saved every penny so his grandchildren would have opportunities he never had, who died knowing his legacy wasn't wealth, it was love. And I taught it to Sarah, Tyler, and Emma. They'll teach it to their own children someday, and the cycle of real love, real family will continue. That's how you win against people like Clara, not by fighting them on their terms, not by sinking to their level, not by seeking revenge. You win by building something so strong, so rooted in genuine love and sacrifice, that their chaos can't touch it. They can file false reports and hack accounts and spread lies. They can vandalize your car and threaten your livelihood and try to destroy everything you've built. But they can't destroy love. They can't destroy the bonds formed through years of showing up. They can't destroy the trust earned through consistency and sacrifice. Clara tried. She gave it everything she had, and she failed. Because at the end of the day, money doesn't make a family. DNA doesn't make a family. Legal documents don't make a family. Showing up makes a family. Being there makes a family. Choosing each other every single day through good times and bad, that's what makes a family. And we were always a family. The 4 of us. No matter what Clara did or said or tried to take, we were always a family, and no amount of greed could ever change that. I still have that envelope she left on my porch. The letter inside, with her messy handwriting and too late apologies. I keep it in a box with all the other letters she sent over the years, the ones asking for money, the one renouncing her parental rights, all of it. Someday, maybe the kids will want to read them. Maybe they'll want to understand their mother better, try to find forgiveness for their own peace. Or maybe they'll choose to leave the past where it belongs and focus on the future they're building. Either way, I'll support them. Because that's what family does. We choose each other, we protect each other, we show up for each other every single day, no matter what.